Greetings, shalom. Commandments were on my mind, and some verses that I put in the description, and wasn't able to fit as many as I thought I would, but that's how it goes. As long as someone's not limiting the Father's word in their heart, because some natural thing doesn't prove anything by itself. Flesh profits nothing. But I think I might do the split screen here and read some of them. Let me open it up. We have Cain. We read from the presence of Yehovah, went away from his presence. Actually, I might find that and read it. Genesis 4, I think. Yeah. And some judgments are already there, teaching the Father's judgments in Genesis. So Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. Actually, I want to read right before that. What caused it? In the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to Yehovah. Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat, and Yehovah respected Abel and his offering. But he did not respect Cain and his offering. And let me see what this word respect, what is the different ones? Displeasing, displeasure. Okay, so that's what it's like. Respect. And because of this, he did not respect or was displeased in Cain's offering, and and Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So Yehovah said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well," it's a big if, "will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door." Those are our options. Well, not well. If we do well, we'll be accepted. And if we do not do well, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you, but you should rule over it. What do we have to do? Rule over it. By our own power? No. No, that's the confusion. That's self-righteousness of our own power, but we need to rule over it, nevertheless, by the Father's power. Otherwise, it desires you, desires everyone, desires me, anybody. If we do not do well, it's right there at the door, ready to enter your temple and get in you and destroy you. And it desires you. It comes as a want. It comes masquerading as something like a messenger of light and makes it look like it has a good desire for someone. But if anybody is Cain in this world and is looking like they desire someone, what do they really want? Sin to enter your door so that it destroys you. But we read you should roll over it. Now Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. Then Yehovah said to Cain, "Where is Abel, your brother?" Now, why is the father asking a question? Because he doesn't know? No. Is he doing sin by asking a question he knows the answer to? No. But can someone do sin by asking a corrupt question that they know the answer to for themselves? Yes. Depends what the heart's doing. But the Father is not doing sin, not wanting to do sin, not doing evil, but for good, for our admonition, and not his own, because evil doesn't even tempt the Father, like we read. He cannot even be tempted by evil. But look how Cain answers. He said, I do not know. That's a lie. Where is Abel, your brother? How often do people do this? Everywhere, all the time. Where someone asks a question, but they just got done with some kind of sin, and it doesn't have to be literal murder. See how this applies? And he said, I do not know. This is a lie. This is what you have to do after sin. Lie. He did murder. Now a question comes, and that question tests Cain and puts a little testing on it. Is it evil for us to do the same? No. In fact, that's what we're supposed to do, is prove and test all things, but it has to be done out of righteousness, out of good intentions, out of understanding, out of seeing, out of concern, out of wanting good for someone. But we don't control who receives the good, though. But it doesn't matter if someone doesn't receive good, doesn't believe. We have to do the good anyways. He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? Are you your brother's killer? What does that mean? Am I my brother's keeper? He's responding out of delusion, out of lying, out of confusion, out of cowardly fear and strong judgment now for murder. Because that is what the judgment is for literal murder. But murder in the heart is breaking his law. Murder in the heart is going to receive death for that as a wage. Everyone gets a reward, whether for good or evil. Every work is judged and rewarded for good or evil. So the reward of evil is an evil reward put onto someone as a righteous judgment. Right now, even. And to come, the judgment, to expose and reveal all things. So when Father tests by asking a question, where is Abel, your brother? When you know what you're doing and doing good, how someone answers a question is part of a test to see what they do and answer. Because if you're not sure, or you need more witnesses for the first thing, let's say, the Father knows, but from us, if we don't know for sure the first thing, we think it's murder in the heart. And then if someone answers, I don't know, and you can see that that's a lie, that's a sign the first thing is not true, and whatever someone is saying is not true. Because if someone does good, they don't go into lie after lie after lie. It's truth. But the second thing here is a lie. I do not know. A sign something is not right in the beginning there. Where is Abel, your brother? Concerning the murder, am I my brother's keeper? That kind of work from the heart. Why he would say, it's out of fear. I'm trying to say what I see in the heart for this. It's out of cowardly fear. It's out of very much sin guilt. It's out of anger and wrath, because that's what you would get for murder. If someone is murdering in the heart, they're filled up with wrath, and they don't have age-abiding life with them, in them. Like we read elsewhere, no murderer has age-abiding life, the true life that Father gives through Messiah in them, not at the time, not from doing that kind of works. So if it's being done consistently, then they don't have life. They are not a follower of Messiah, and they don't believe in the true Messiah or the Creator. Am I my brother's keeper? This is like a confused, evil, spite, mockery, projecting stupidity and foolishness on someone else. Like, am I my brother's keeper? Because he's foolish and blind for doing sin. In reality, Cain is for doing sin. He has to project and pour out foolishness, wrath, stupidity onto someone else. So he's saying, am I my brother's keeper? Because he's guilty. And it's making the father look stupid, isn't it? Am I my brother's keeper? See? And before that, he says, I do not know. It's all bad. And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood, life, cries out to me from the ground. So now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. Fugitive and a vagabond, you shall be on the earth. And what is the earth? The earth is the Father's field, Messiah said in a parable and teaching. When Cain works that field, he will not receive what it should be for good, but it's cursed, and it will not yield, like we read, it will not yield what it should be for good. It shall no longer yield its strength to you. A fugitive and a vagabond, on the run, lost, is what people are that don't know the Father. Right now, these words are applying. They're true. This can be seen in someone, whether this is so or not. It's something to see and look at and behold, whether it's true or not. Cain or Abel, who is somebody? Are they a believer or not? One of the two, and nothing in between or some other third created thing. From the presence of the Lord, from the presence of Yehovah, going out, or drawing near in his light, closer and closer. One of the two. And Cain said to Yehovah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Surely you have driven me out this day from the face of the ground. I shall be hidden, darkness, hidden from your face, his presence, his good, everything that the Father is for good, hidden. It's not good. I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth, and it will happen that anyone who finds me will kill me. But the Father, being a righteous creator and Father and judge, says, and Yehovah said to him, therefore whoever kills Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yehovah set a mark on Cain, lest anyone finding him should kill him. I want to look up that word mark right now. Strong's. A signal or a sign, a flag, a beacon, mark, miracle, sign, evidence, token, sign, signal, distinguishing mark, banner, remembrance, miraculous sign, omen, warning, token, and sign, standard, miracle, proof. Okay. Now this exact same Hebrew word in King James Strong's is translated as sign 32 times, and signs 27, token 10, tokens 4, miracles 2, mark 1, in signs 1, in sign 1. So it's a mark and a sign is you can see the oneness of it, mark / sign. A sign is a mark also. See the connection of the word. It's the same exact word in scripture, the identical Hebrew word, if it's translated in a slightly different way, English word, but there's a connection with sign and mark, distinguishing mark. Okay, let's see now that lest anyone finding him should kill him. So the Father does not accept someone taking out the bad guys at all. It's a strong judgment, sevenfold. Anyone that goes out and would do this literal thing, it's a strong judgment for someone to kill a murderer or a killer. Sevenfold, how about? That's what we read. This applies spiritually. Don't go out and take out murderers and killers. Then we just become exactly what everyone else is. A hypocrite, condemning self by condemning others and murdering others. No different than the killer or murderer at all. In fact, worse, because sevenfold judgment is stronger than the original evil that Cain did. Anyone that kills the killer, if anything could be said, has done a greater evil because it's a stronger judgment. What does man do? Well, that's righteous vengeance, to go and kill the killer. That's not what we can do in the heart. Wherever there's a stronger judgment, we know that the sin is greater, and we know that the world does not, anybody that believes is learning surely that the world does not agree with anything that's of the truth. So we read sevenfold as the judgment of Cain for anyone that kills Cain, for anyone that kills the killer. This is not accepted. This is not good. This is not for us to do, not for believers to do. It's a revenge of self. What do we read after then? Then Cain went out from the presence of Yehovah and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. It's interesting now. The next verse, something just came to my mind. It's not, just something that came to mind. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. So there's another Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad. Okay. It's interesting that the book of Enoch, it just happens to be that name, the book of Enoch. From the devil's seed, false book, from Cain, from the wicked one. Let me put in commandments now and maybe read some of those. Okay, Matthew 5. Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Now, the way that Christianity and the religion uses this, Messiah's words, and corrupts and makes them void, is that fulfill in their heart means that he fulfilled it so that we don't have anything to do with it. And the blood covering is just some cover of words, a cloak to hide your sins and continue sinning. It's the masquerade. It's what the heart believes, because if someone is breaking the commandments with their heart constantly and it's seen, that's the only thing they believe it is. They won't say the words when they're exposed, but that's what they do. He fulfilled the law so we don't have to. They don't have the understanding. They hate Messiah's command and words because they're not of him. For assuredly or truly I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. Whoever therefore breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches men so, what matters? What someone sounds like and looks like for teaching, or what someone actually teaches? What their heart really means by it and what they do with their works is what Messiah is speaking of, never the image. That doesn't count for teaching. If someone looks good, but they're teaching to break the commandments, they don't have anything to do with Messiah, no matter how much they scream and say so. Whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. How will they corrupt that? Saying you can still be of the kingdom while breaking his commandments and teaching to break them. Do they not have a problem with so many other teachings and verses in Scripture and Messiah's words? That anyone who does not keep the commandments is a liar. Like I'm likely going to find that verse and read, and so many others. How could someone be breaking constantly and teaching to break them? And what? Be saved, have something to do with the Father, have salvation, just hurting your salvation a little, once saved, always saved, because they don't understand these words. They use their word for sin and to teach sin. That's how they use Messiah's commands. Messiah is saying, whoever breaks the least of these and teaches men is called least in the kingdom of heaven, to bring a contrast to the importance of this. But whoever does and teaches them he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So we have a contrast, but that's not it yet. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. You won't even enter if your righteousness doesn't exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees in the religion, as they were and are to this day. So then the understanding is not someone breaking the commandments and teaching to do so, is not even entering the kingdom. Those words are used to bring a contrast to the importance of the commandments and the laws for the heart to keep. So someone teaching to break so and is breaking them constantly, obviously, if that's what they teach. They don't do them if that's what they teach from their heart, will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But the truth is, if they're doing that, they don't even enter and have nothing to do with him, because that Messiah is using for a contrast to bring the importance of the commandments and the laws. That whoever breaks the least, the smallest of these and teaches men will be the least. That's how he brings the contrast to the importance. Now, if someone's actually doing that continually, what is next? Unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness. How can someone be righteous if they break the laws constantly, which is the definition of unrighteousness and lawlessness? Righteousness is the opposite of lawlessness. Like we read in the New Testament, for Christianity, we cannot escape the truth in reality. What is sin? Sin is the breaking of the law. Sin is transgression of the law. Transgression of the law is sin and unrighteousness. Pharisees, those that don't believe, self-righteousness, have no actual righteousness. Nobody is righteous, not even one of ourselves. So what is Messiah saying? That it needs to exceed the righteousness. You need to have righteousness, period. Exceeding zero is to have some, which is the Father's righteousness. And if you don't exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees, which is zero righteousness, zero, not 0.1 or 2, 5%, zero, that's everyone. No one is righteous, not even one. To exceed zero righteousness is to have some righteousness now. If you do not exceed and have more than zero righteousness that the Pharisees have, you by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. And if someone is teaching to break the laws and commandments and teaching men to do so, even the least of them, do they have righteousness by transgressing the law, sinning continually? Sin is transgression of the law. Unrighteousness is sin and breaking of the law. That's what unrighteousness is. Righteousness is keeping the law. Therefore, when we read verse 19, whoever breaks the least, once again, is a contrast, is not understood carnally or like the natural man would think, or literally, because the understanding has to be given why it's even said. No one can teach to break the commandments and break the least of them continually, let alone bigger ones, shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. They won't even enter if they do that, is the truth. But he says least to give a contrast to how important even the smallest breaking of the commandment is. It's a contrast. Man has no righteousness of self. Pharisees did not believe. That's who they were. They were self-righteous. Self-righteousness is zero righteousness. The Father's righteousness is the only real righteousness. Man has none. To exceed the Pharisees' righteousness is to have some righteousness. That only comes through belief and having the Father's righteousness working in us and put on us, which does works, which keeps the law and commandments, learning to keep them under his grace. You heard that it was said, those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders is in danger of the judgment. But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause, critical text doesn't have without a cause. So then it would just read, whoever is angry with his brother is in danger of the judgment. That's a monstrous lie. It's without a cause. Because if someone is angry at a brother without a cause, that is a murderous heart. And that's why Messiah says, shall be in danger of the judgment. And in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. Matthew 19 now. Now behold, one came and said to him, the critical text omits good, so it would just say something like teacher. Foul critical text is hypocritical, is what it is. Now behold, one came and said to him, good teacher, what good things shall I do that I may have eternal life, age-abiding life? So he said to him, why do you call me good? They butcher that too, because if you butcher one thing, you have to butcher the next one. Critical text does not have that. It says, why do you ask me about what is good? No, they butchered it all. The man said to him, good teacher. Messiah asks him, why do you call me good? No one is good but one, that is Elohim. But if you want to enter into life, keep the commandments. So if someone doesn't keep the commandments ever, they don't have life. Does that sound like righteousness? Does that sound like exceeding the righteousness of the Pharisees? Is someone able to be the least in the kingdom by never keeping the commandments and teaching men so to break them? They don't seek the understanding because they don't have any care or love in their heart to keep Messiah's words at all and have no love in them. The only true love is from the Father. That's it. Man's love is wickedness and lust. It is not love at all. So if we want to enter into life, keep the commandments. Mark 12, which is the first commandment of all. Yehoshua answered him, the first of all the commandments is, Hear, O Israel, Yehovah our Elohim. Elohim is one, Yehovah is one. And you shall love Elohim, Yehovah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment, and the second like it is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. Why is that so? These two, because the law hangs on all these two and is connected. These are at the top and everything branches out from it. To break the branches is to break the first thing at the top and not keep love your neighbor as yourself. If you love me, keep my commandments. Now, John 14. A little while longer, the world will see me no more, but you will see me. Because I live, you will live also. At that day you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who has my commandments and keeps them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him. What if this never happens? What if someone's not keeping the commandments? Do they love him? No, because if we love him, keep the commandments, Messiah said. Does that sound like righteousness, to have zero love for the Father and Messiah? Does that sound like exceeding the Pharisees' righteousness? John 15. As the Father loved me, I also have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love. If you do not keep the commandments, you will not abide in my love, is what he's saying also. Just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may remain in you, and that your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you, as Messiah did, not some carnal man that doesn't know the Father at all. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. You are my friends if you do whatever I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. For all things that I heard from my Father I have made known to you. He did not hide anything. It's the wicked Pharisees of religion that hide and teach destruction and sin and unrighteousness. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. These things I command you, that you love one another. That's to keep his commandments and his laws, to love one another. Now by this we know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. He who says, I know him, and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, truly the love of Elohim is perfected in him. By this we know that we are in him. He who says he abides in him ought himself also to walk just as he walked, just as. Again, a new commandment I write to you, which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is passing away and the true light is already shining. He who says he is in the light and hates his brother is in darkness until now. He who loves his brother abides in the light, and there is no cause for stumbling in him. But he who hates his brother is in darkness and walks in darkness, and does not know where he is going, because the darkness has blinded his eyes. What are the things that his people are supposed to ask for? A brand new shiny car? That's the world's lust and the love of the world, and seeking the worldly things and not obeying Messiah's command to not love the world or any of the things in it, and to not seek it as the Gentiles, the unbelievers, the sinners. Flesh doesn't matter, whatever race, color, blood, that's a spiritual Gentile, an unbeliever. They seek those things. My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And by this we know that we are of the truth, and shall assure our hearts before him. Can someone have assurance? Yes, if they want to do the Father's will and keep his commandments and obey Messiah's words, they will have assurance. If not, they will have zero assurance. For if our heart condemns us, Elohim is greater than our heart and knows all things. Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence towards Elohim. And whatever we ask, we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. What did Messiah say? He said, I always do the things that are pleasing to my Father. That's what he said. He always does the things that are pleasing to him. And this is his commandment, that we should believe on the name of his Son, Yehoshua Messiah, and love one another as he gave us commandment. Now he who keeps his commandments abides in him, and he in him. And by this we know that he abides in us, by the Spirit whom he has given us. Someone can know and have assurance. How? just by the things that's being read in his word. That's how, by keeping his commandments. Okay. I think I already read 1 John, right? He who says, I know him and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. Yes. 1 John 5. Whoever believes that Yehoshua is the Messiah is born of Elohim. When we read in his word, believe, it is not an empty, religious, vain word. It's huge. It's not assuming, but using that word, assuming real belief. It's only speaking of real belief, not fake belief or look-alike belief. Whoever believes that Yehoshua is the Messiah is born of Elohim. Not those that pretend to believe, they're not born of Elohim, and everyone who loves him who begot also loves him who is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim, when we love Elohim and keep his commandments. For this is the love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments. What is the love of Elohim, Creator? That we keep his commandments. That's his love, not the world's definition of love and feelings, lust. And his commandments are not burdensome, for whatever is born of Elohim overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, our faith. Who is he who overcomes the world? But he who believes that Yehoshua is the Son of Elohim. Second John. I rejoice greatly that I have found some of your children walking in truth as we received commandment from the Father. Now I plead with you, lady, not as though I wrote a new commandment to you, but that which we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. This is love, that we walk according to his commandments. This is the commandment, that as you have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. For many deceivers have gone out into the world who do not confess Yehoshua Messiah as coming in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an anti-Messiah. Look to yourselves that we do not lose those things we work for, but that we may receive a full reward. Whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Messiah does not have Elohim. He who abides in the doctrine of Messiah has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this doctrine, do not receive him into your house nor greet him, for he who greets him shares in his evil deeds. A person is a temple and a house. Someone needs understanding of his word to be able to understand it. It needs to come from him. And the only way that's going to happen is someone that wants to do his will and keep his commandments. How else can someone learn what they mean? But they already believe they know. They believe the devil's doctrine, that if you sin and when you sin, like I did in the previous video or videos with Genesis, the devil's doctrine is when you sin, you know good and evil for sinning. The true way is through belief. When we fail and sin and are covered by his grace, his covering, forgiveness, we have to repent. There will be a judgment. Nevertheless, under his grace, it doesn't matter. He will judge still. And when we believe and repent and are corrected, through this we learn what sin is, and so that we don't do it and cut some of it off. And he gives us power and strength to overcome it. Flat out just sinning is not receiving the knowledge of good and evil, which is what the enemy says. We read in Genesis. If you do the sin, that's death. That's what the Father says. The Creator, the true Creator and Father says, you shall die if you eat it. You eat the sin and do the sin in your heart, you shall die. The enemy says you shall live. You shall not die, which is to live. So man believes that when he sins, he lives. He already believes that in his heart. What does he call life? To go out and have fun and commit adultery. Live it up. Don't think the Father is stupid. Every person that doesn't know him believes that in their heart, whether seek openly, and all believe it secretly, and where their works prove it. Sin is to live in this world. Live it up is to sin. That is life. When people obey the command to live it up and sin, they die more in reality and go in more destruction and blinding and insanity. Then they will believe next time they need to do more because they need more life. So they'll go sin more. In reality, the Father is handing them over to their sin and wickedness, and they can't stop, and they won't repent, and they keep on sinning and breaking the commandments in the heart, let alone literally in the flesh, as the world does love literal adultery so much. No one can continue to do that. No one can do that without being utterly destroyed and blinded. Someone wants to commit literal adultery, they want your death. Stay far away from them. Tell them the truth. But can't be one with that, cannot receive into your house, your temple, cannot be one and receive that in this way, cannot greet them like a brother. There needs to be a separation for someone that wants someone to sin. They want your destruction, and their definition of life is the devil's doctrine, sin. You shall not surely die for sinning, eating the fruit, breaking the Father's commandment, eating the fruit, the works, doing the works of sin, eating sin. You shall not surely die is the devil's doctrine. Therefore, man in his heart believes already that's been sold to sin and has sinned. No different than Adam and Eve falling. They already believe in their heart that sin is to live. So murder in the heart is good to people. They call good evil and evil good. When they murder you, they believe they're doing good in their heart. And good is wicked to them because they're already backwards and of the devil and of their father, the devil. They already are backwards in all things concerning the commandments and the law in the heart, and already believe sin is life, and to live it up is sin. You shall not surely die. Through belief, through repentance, we learn what sin is, and the Father gives us the knowledge of good and evil. Through belief, through repentance, through doing his will, not through just sinning and that's it. Just sinning apart from belief is to die. They will never learn good and evil. Sin is life to this world and knowledge of good and evil to this world because the Creator has already said so. Now the works prove whether that's true or not. That's a lot of proof. If the Father's wrong on one person, he's a liar. 7 billion something people, Father's name is on the line. He better be right about all of them or he's a liar. Every single one of them, he better be right concerning the heart. What will the world do? Make him to be a liar. That's all it can do. It's going to lie to you. It's going to say lying words. It's never going to agree with his word and truth in their heart. Who cares about what something sounds like with empty words that are void, lying words for a cover? What is their heart doing? That's where it's never wrong. Because anybody can play a deceiver and make them look like whatever they want to look like and deceive someone, and they believe deception is good and wisdom. When you deceive someone out in the world, someone deceives someone, they believe they did good. They call it wisdom, and it's foolishness. Test just that one thing alone and look look at what it is. If someone can seek the Creator to see it, so we can't see it on our own. Test it out. See if mankind doesn't believe deception is good. It's not going to call it evil. It's just going to be some kind of joke, and I was just joking and playing. That's the cover. That's the excuse. They're guilty. They smirk and laugh because they're in sin guilt, and they know they're guilty. Cain's running around everywhere, guilty of sin, pretending to be believers that break the commandments left and right constantly, and then they, what? Try to say they're a believer after we watch them sin 50 times? Break the commandments 100 times with their heart? Do not receive them. That doesn't have the doctrine of Messiah. The enemy doesn't know what the doctrine of Messiah is. Bring this doctrine, we read. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, this doctrine to him, do not receive into your house nor greet him. What is the doctrine specifically? Well, right above it, we read, for many deceivers are gone out into the world who do not confess Yehoshua Messiah as coming in the flesh. How did he come? Through the flesh, the natural way. The seed of David coming in the flesh. These are deceivers who do not confess Yehoshua Messiah as coming in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an anti-Messiah. Look to yourself, that we do not lose those things worked for, but that we may receive the full reward. Whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Messiah does not have Elohim, even if they say they do. They're a liar. Revelation 12. Now when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, that old dragon, that serpent, that dragon, that devil, the Elohim of this world, what does it mean that he was cast to the earth? There was power finally in Messiah. It started with Messiah, a light shining in the world through Messiah, the Father's light in him, and anyone who believed since then. He was cast to the earth because he lost the power in the heavens, in the high places, the heart, things of spirit, the big things, the important things. For those that believe, the Father is our power. He is greater than he who is in the world, like we read. The Father is greater than he who is in and of the world. Without the Father, we can have nothing against the enemy. He is in the heavenlies for the wicked, ruling them, and their heart is in sin continually. But the dragon is raging. He persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. That's why the devil, working through his servants and the kings of the earth, wanted to kill every 2-year-old and under, because they're devils working for their father, the devil. They're monsters and need to die because there's nothing good in Adam. There is nothing good in Adam and Eve, the natural man, the natural woman. It needs to die. It's a wicked sinner and unrighteous and enmity towards the Creator. There is nothing good about it, about Adam and Eve. Persecuted the woman. Who is the woman? The woman is the Father's people, Messiah's people, spiritual Israel. The woman, those that believe, who gave birth to the male child, Messiah. And now this woman is spiritual Israel through Messiah, the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. Now, this literally even happened with Messiah's birth, but this is meaning something greater than that. The spiritual meaning that's always true for all his people. Because the devil was seeking out to destroy Messiah even as a 2-year-old and under, and they fled. And the Father hid them. What the Father hides, the enemy cannot find. It's not about self's own wisdom and power. If the Father determines to hide something, the enemy can't find it, no matter how much they try, because they go blind. He's in control of all people and the spirit of man. No one can fight against the Creator. Whatever he determines, it's done. It's over. No one can change it. And it's been determined that all the wicked will be revealed, and their lying doctrines of hell and their murderous hearts and lawlessness will be revealed for who and what they are, that believers have said for 2,000 years and nobody believed them. And his word has been speaking the truth, and nobody believed him. They will be revealed someday for all the wickedness and the murders that they've done, and that they were serial killers. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, spiritual Israel. What's the intention of the serpent? To destroy her, to destroy Father's people, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. The serpent and the dragon is one, calling it the serpent and dragon. It's one, both. The enemy, the devil, Elohim of this world. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her, the woman, offspring, who keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of Yehoshua Messiah. Only further adding to that the woman is the Father's people. Her offspring are those that keep the commandments of Elohim and have the testimony of Yehoshua Messiah. Not by words only, but by deeds. Their works are their testimony. Their words match their works. Therefore, it's the true testimony. Any one of the dragon is enraged with the woman, the Father's people. They are at enmity, according to Genesis, right from the beginning. The serpent seed and the woman's seed that we're reading of in Revelation now for what it always meant. But that prophecy didn't truly begin spiritually. There was no power over the enemy until Messiah. And that is specifically those of the Father and Messiah is the woman, spiritual Israel, and her offspring, Messiah's offspring, his people, that the Father gives him. The enemy, everyone of the dragon, the serpent, the devil, the Elohim of this world, is raging against the woman and Father's people. They violently, brutally want to murder them all, who keep the commandments of Elohim and the testimony of Yehoshua Messiah, not who don't keep the commandments. And so then there's two more only. Revelation 14. I think I might read actually a little more than that verse. If anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand. What did Cain receive? He received the mark. He himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy messengers and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends to the ages of ages, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yehoshua. Then I heard a voice from heaven saying to me, Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Master from now on. Blessed are the dead? Yes, blessed are the dead who die in the Master from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors. Messiah says, Come for the weary to rest, who are heavy laden and weary, to rest from our own works, to give it up, surrender. They talk these words, but only the works will prove whether they understand and do and believe it. To keep all the different commandments that we read, Messiah's commandments, which are the Father's commandments. To stop working our own works, to die in Messiah. Blessed are the dead who die in the Master from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works follow them. What are the works that follow them? The Father's works, for resting from our own works. The letter contradicts here, and there is no contradiction spiritually, because the letter is not the meaning and understanding for our heart. The Spirit, spiritual understanding. Resting from our works and doing the Father's works, and their works follow them, that they may rest from their labors, their works, and their works follow them. Because the first here is resting from our labors, rest from their labors. The true Sabbath. Messiah is the master of Sabbath. He is our rest, to rest from our works. And anyone doing their own works doesn't do the works of the Father. They have no righteousness in them. So then they don't have, their righteousness does not exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees and scribes and the religion that continue to do their own works. A true believer, even a young believer, has the Father's works, even though it's small. That exceeds the righteousness of the Pharisees. Anyone that doesn't believe does never not exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees, because they have no righteousness. It's the same. Everybody's own works are the same. They no righteousness. It's all level and evil to the Creator, and that's how it should be for us, because that's the truth. Nobody's better than anyone to the Creator. Nobody does righteousness of self. Our own righteousness is zero righteousness. Must exceed the righteousness, zero righteousness that they have in reality. Must exceed that. So anyone teaching to break the commandments, breaking the least of them, and teaching men to do so, cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Even though we read, will be least in the kingdom of heaven. Once again, going back to the beginning, to bring out the spiritual contrast of the importance of the commandments, and that even breaking and teaching to break the least of them is incredibly important. And those that break them continually will never exceed the righteousness of the Pharisees. That they don't enter. They don't see the kingdom of Elohim. Now, what will that be on that day, though? If no one's ever seen the kingdom of Elohim in this life and has never entered the kingdom of heaven, what do they think is going to happen? Like we read, the age-lasting destruction from the presence of Yehovah. Now, people that don't believe are in destruction. They are out of his presence. They don't see the kingdom of Elohim. It hasn't come to them. They're still waiting for it. This is true for every carnal man, no matter what image, cover, and religion they are. In their heart, they don't see the kingdom of Elohim. They have not entered the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, they are waiting still, carnally, for it to come. And that's what it's going to come down to for the end, is manifest this truth, literally, openly. And people will openly do whatever this wicked Elohim of this world commands them to, especially when their literal soul is on the line. They will do anything to save it, because you can have no power to do otherwise if someone that doesn't believe. You cannot overcome any sin or keep any of the commandments in unbelief. There is no power or understanding to do so or given for an unbeliever. Every unbeliever, no matter what image and religion thereof or not religious, will believe, already is of the anti-Messiah spirit, of the enemy, of the Elohim of this world. And whatever this world does for a deception at the very end, for masquerading on the kingdom coming, they will believe it. And everyone will be able to see it with their eyes. And that's the only thing they can understand and see, because they have not entered the kingdom. They don't see it. Those that believe are already seeing the kingdom of Elohim right now, and they have entered. Messiah warned and said, the kingdom of heaven is not coming with signs. Look, here it is. Look, there it is. But the kingdom of heaven is within you. How is the enemy going to masquerade at the end? The kingdom of heaven masquerading as the kingdom of heaven coming on earth. And the world's going to act like it is righteous and bringing the kingdom when they're actually going to bring destruction on all the earth. Let's see, is that the third one, or did I already read that? Last one in Revelation 22. I'm just going to read the whole chapter to finish off, I think. Revelation 22. After he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding from the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. Always in scriptures, so much examples of the separation of the Creator and Messiah. In all of the apostles' writings, Messiah himself, everywhere. It's incredible. 500 witnesses, whatever the number is, and then someone thinks because they found one where it's like Jesus is God, nonsense, evil, image of the beast, and man of sin, the son of perdition. Just ignore 500 and go for your one. That's what they are, destroyers of his word. They'll throw down 500 scriptures and proofs in a heartbeat for their one that they corrupted and think they know what it means, but desperately want it to mean whatever their heart believes, and don't seek the truth. Don't seek to do his will and keep his commandments. Therefore, they don't know anything. Whatever little they may have had is taken from them, as Messiah said. They have nothing in their heart. They have not been taught a single thing by Messiah and the Creator. They don't know what the law is. They don't know what good is, what evil is. They are lawless. They are the lawless ones. Proceeding from the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the middle of its street and on either side of the river was the tree of life, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. The leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. They shall see his face, and his name shall be on their foreheads. There shall be no night there. They need no lamp nor light of the sun. For Yehovah Elohim gives them light, and they shall reign to the ages of ages. And he said to me, these words are faithful and true, and Yehovah Elohim of the holy prophets sent his angel to show his servants the things which must shortly take place. Behold, I am coming quickly. Blessed is he who keeps the words of the prophecy of this book. These are the things that take place shortly. They must shortly take place to show the servants of the Father. He shows us. Now it's finishing with what it began, because we read the same words, the same teaching in the beginning somewhere in Revelation. On blessed is he who keeps the words of the prophecy of this book. Now I, John, saw and heard these things, and when I heard and saw, I fell down to worship before the feet of the messenger who showed me these things. Then he said to me, see that you do not do that, for I am your fellow servant and of your brethren, the prophets, and of those who keep the words of this book. Worship Elohim. And he said to me, do not seal the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is at hand for those that believe. He who is unjust, let him be unjust still. He who is filthy, let him be filthy still. It's a command for us. Let it be. Don't try to force change it or any of this. That's what the wicked do, because they have to show how righteous they are with their wickedness. He who is righteous, let him be righteous still. He who is holy, let him be holy still, set apart. Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to give to everyone according to his work. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Messiah is the beginning of the new creation, and he's the finisher of the faith, the beginning and end of the new creation, and all his people in between it. Creator is the beginning and the end, period. Messiah is the beginning and the end of the new creation. It starts with Messiah. He's the author. He's the beginning, the first and the last, like we read. He's the firstborn of the dead, firstborn of that death of Adam. And all those that believe, if they want life, we read, keep the commandments. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates into the city, but outside are dogs and sorcerers and sexually immoral and murderers and idolaters and whoever loves and practices a lie. I, Yehoshua, have sent my angel to testify to you these things in the assemblies, churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star, and the spirit and the offspring of David, Messiah's words. How come they don't believe this? Anyone that doesn't believe Messiah comes in the flesh, we read, is of the anti-Messiah spirit. And the spirit and the bride say, come. And let him who hears say, come. And let him who thirsts come. Whoever desires, let him take the water of life freely. Freely, not charging. Anyone charging for his word and connected to money is already beyond corrupt, already over, if that's discerned. They are massively corrupt. Messiah gets angry for a good reason with the money changers in the temple, in the house. The house is the person. Someone's got money in their heart, mixing with his word, selling his word. Messiah is cleaning out the threshing floor, not allowing any of that. They're destroyed. They're outside of the kingdom and have nothing to do with him and are filled up with the wrath of the devil right now. For I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to these things, Elohim will add to him the plagues that are written in this book. They don't believe this either, do they? This is only coming out in the distant future someday, so that they do away and make his word void and no effect in people and keep them blind. Implying that this has been a lie, that the Creator's been a liar all this time about the plagues that he will add for anyone who adds or takes away. To him, the plagues that are written in this book, Elohim will add. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, Elohim shall take away his part from the book of life, from the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. He who testifies to these things says, surely I am coming quickly. Amen. Even so, come, Master Yehoshua. The grace of our Master Yehoshua Messiah be with you all. Amen. That's the end. Revelation. What a crazy world we live in. What chaos, utter darkness this world is. Lawless, lost, and confused. This cannot be forever. No, that would make the Father's life, soul, faint. Like we read, he's not going to let it stand forever. He will not be like this forever. Anyone that teaches and implies it secretly through doctrine is a liar, and quite the big one at that. No minor point to say the world will be like this forever. It's an obvious deceiver, destroyed and destroying people, that thinks and believes and teaches slyly through tricky doctrine that it's going to be like this forever. Not only that, anybody that can see that those who do this are destroyed. But since the natural man is blind and can't see anything, it's nothing to him, but they are heavily destroyed. The more people someone needs to deceive, the more destroyed they are themselves. The more that they deceive, the more destroyed they are. the more their folly is poured out even to the enemies, and enemies expose these religious leaders themselves. Even the enemy is judging them and exposing them for their sins and wickedness and love of money. It's gotten so corrupt, even the enemy exposes these believers, so-called, that don't have anything to do with Messiah and have nothing to do with keeping his commandments at all. But so it must be. Let the filthy be filthy still. Let the unrighteous be unrighteous still. Let it be. You follow me, Messiah said. Let the dead bury the dead. They're dead. Anyone in continual sin, breaking the spiritual law continually, that's a discernment. It's so serious that it can be discerned whether someone's in death or not. And when it is discerned, then we're told not even needing to pray for someone when it's that bad, when it's discerned. Because there's nothing we can do about it any further. We've already done anything we could do. And it just will not be so that someone believes at all. You could pray, but we read that you don't have to pray for someone when that's so. Sin leads to death. When it's discerned that the sin someone's doing is leading to death, I mean, they're in death, they're not a believer. No one can keep on murdering in the heart over and over again and lying over and over again with no sign of repentance, no sign of recognition at all. That's a sin to death. That's a discernment. It has to be discerned right. If it's not, then we do evil. Now, the person in death will never acknowledge that and will only dump their sins back onto you and say you do everything that they do. That's the best they can do, is wickedness and hypocrisy. So someone can't be one with it. Everyone is Cain or Abel or Cain. In the presence of the Creator, drawing closer, or outside of his presence, going further away. A hard thing for truth to see, and has to be so in this wicked age. It doesn't mean there is no hope for all of humanity. It's just not the way it is now. It cannot be so like that, and there's very good reason for it. Father can show a ton of things that would not be able to show in the same way at all if it were not like this. He shows his power. Shows the power by having a Pharaoh that's nothing to do with the Creator, that's resisting, that doesn't believe the plagues are coming on him. So what do we learn? Pharaohs don't believe that the plagues are on them. They don't ever believe it because of their pride. They don't believe judgment's on them. That's part of the frustration and the patience of the kingdom, is seeing that nobody believes anything for proof, for sins, for plagues, for righteous judgments on them. They never believe it. You're always the insane person. They need to dump their insanity on you and make you look insane to try and hide, but they don't realize that that's how they reveal who they are, because believers can't be doing that. Messiah does righteous judgment based on what he sees and hears, not with his literal eyes or literal ears, but in spirit. Father's righteous judgment working through him based on what he sees the heart doing. Those are the works, and the works prove everything. You will know them by their fruit, their works, not by what they say and what they look like and sound like. You'll know them by their works, their fruits. What do they produce? That tells you for sure what kind of tree it is, good, of the Father, or bad. Good fish, bad fish, and so many other examples. Light or darkness, good or evil. Knowing that the natural man, knowing that we're no good of ourselves, nevertheless, those that believe, they are light, because it's the Father's light and righteousness. And to call that sin is evil, call the Father's very work sin and his light sin, is to call the Father a sinner and wicked and evil, which is what the unbeliever goes around doing all the time in religion. Has no fear in its eyes at all, And when the plagues hit strong on them, they don't believe it at all. They don't believe it. They wonder why they're so destroyed. They can't figure it out. It's because they never have kept the commandments a day in their life. That's why. And don't seek to do so. Do anything and everything except what's right, except simple belief and denial of self. It's incredible how blind mankind is without the Father. He's in darkness. All have gone astray like lost sheep. There is no shepherd. We read that. There is none. The Messiah was the first. And not even by his own power or anything of self, but because of the Father. So if someone wants life, what does that mean? What does that do for someone? It gives them life. He gives life. He's the life giver, literally and spiritually, which is the only important thing. That's the first and most important thing, is not being literally alive. I mean, that's fine. But if someone's dead, what profit is it? Though they gain the whole world, if they're dead, what is it? They're in destruction. They're in death. They can't even enjoy their carnality the way they thought they would be able to. It's getting worse every day the richer they get. They have to think about their money and business every day, even more than yesterday. And it just becomes about increasing. That's it. Can't even sit and stop for 5 minutes. It just becomes about increasing and smoking and controlling people because they're destroyed. No one's noticed that their mind is racing. They're in unrest. No one sees it in this world. So few. And if someone can see, it's because of the Father's mercy, not because anything we did good. Pharisees, self. Adam has no righteousness of self. A sad case, hard, cold truth, that Adam needs to die and deny himself. It's the only way to life. And stop trying to be good and thinking we're good of self. For any work we do, that's not righteousness. That's self-righteousness, which is no righteousness. That's why a new covenant, because the old covenant proved something pretty massive. That man's righteousness was death, because he never could keep the Creator's laws in the heart. Never could circumcise the heart. You would have to die if you did that. You can circumcise something else, flesh, but how come they never brought up? How come no one talks about circumcising the heart? Righteousness and circumcising the literal flesh as a type of the true, but itself can do nothing because the flesh profits nothing. Putting on certain clothes won't make someone righteous. Looking like something, acting like something won't make them righteous, won't give them life. Father can't be mocked. He knows the difference. The darkness is just like light to him. He could see right through it. Nobody could hide. No one can hide. No believer could hide either. They'll be exposed to. But circumcising the heart, literally, if you did it according to the letter, would kill you. But nobody brings it up. That's in the law. Carnal Jews, Hebrew Israelite people, it's in the law. How come you don't circumcise your heart literally? Never even bring it up or talk about it. Why? So what do they have to come up with if they're forced to? That circumcision of the heart means keeping the laws carnally of self. That's the best they could do. It's got to be something of self and self-righteousness, which will work death in them. Some of the most destroyed people on the earth, from what I've seen, are hardcore Hebrew Israelite people that are violently self-righteous. They love controlling people and demanding and commanding things from them in the flesh. There's no life in that. That's death. Can't be deceived by that, or else we'll be death. No one has to do anything for an understanding except believe, which is what the church world says, but it's amazing that there's hardly any that truly believe, just so few that actually believe. Incredible. How hard is it to seek the Creator with the heart? Well, it's impossible. Without His mercy, it is impossible. Last thing man wouldn't even do. That's just to bring it out that it's the last thing he would ever do. He would never do it and doesn't do it. He needs to. Ultimately, the Creator is the one that gives mercy. But what's to stop someone from believing right now? What is it? Some kind of enmity in the way, isn't there? Some severe invisible enmity that's working strong. How strong are the invisible things? Pretty strong. Very strong. People are looking for ways without even realizing it. They wouldn't want to admit it because that would be weakness in this world, that they're searching for something, looking for something out there. And it's so close and yet so far. Like we read, close doesn't mean anything, but it's just true that it's close, but yet so far. There's no physical act someone has to do. That's how close it is, and yet it's so far. No physical crazy requirement someone has to do right away. Nevertheless, those that believe, the more they're given, the more is required of them. Concerning belief, nothing is done. No one does anything for that to happen. Of self, no work. Spirit is given freely. Freely he gives, freely give back. Everybody's charging. Bad sign that they're a believer. They're not believers charging. Believers don't charge. They never did. They won't. They will not. They never will. All right, I think that's going to be it then. Seek the truth. Please take care. Seek truth from above.